Here we go, Fitty's moment of truth. Boom! So Fitties, here we are again, sporting some crazy hat hair. This time though, I'm 3 kilos lighter. Again, I've left the light off because I don't want any kind of false shadows making me look more ripped. Thank you. I want to be nice and honest and accurate and consistent. But personally, I think there's definitely a difference. I definitely feel leaner around the midsection. I feel that I look leaner around the midsection. I don't necessarily feel like I've lost a huge amount of size or anything like that. So yeah, I'm happy. Yay! 3 kilos. High five, Matt. Get in. So guys, 3 kilo weight loss in 4 weeks. Amazing. I'm absolutely chuffed to bits with that. Now, the good news is though, is I haven't gone hungry. I haven't done any kind of faddy diets. I've done nothing that drastic really. I've made some really subtle changes to my nutrition, and they're changes that whether you're running a marathon or not, that you would probably benefit from if you had a fat loss goal. So here's what I did. Here's how I went about it. First thing is I reduced snacks. Now, confession time. I'm a serial snacker. I'm a mindless snacker. I love food. You know, Keris will back me up here. You know, the amount of times like she'll come into the kitchen and I'm just like stood with my head in the fridge. She'll be like, why are you staring at the fridge? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know why I'm here. I don't even know how I got here. But I'll just be there, just like picking at stuff, you know, that's just there, just eating it for the sake of it. One of the downfalls, if you like, of working from home is just that easy access to food all the time. So I just took out the snacks for best part. I listened to my body. If I genuinely felt I needed a snack, I'd have a snack. Listening to your body is absolutely huge. So, you know, you can imagine if I'm taking snacks out of the equation, it's going to naturally reduce my calorie intake, all right? Number 2 is I've done some intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting, if you don't know, is essentially where, you know, the most common form is quite simply you skip breakfast. You have your evening meal at like 7 o'clock, and then you don't eat again until the next day's lunch at like 1 p.m. Classic example of an intermittent fast. Now, intermittent fasting isn't for everybody. I tried it some years ago when it was kind of like being spread on kind of like social media and whatnot. I gave it a bash and I thought, actually, this works quite well for me. But again, going back to listening to your body, there are some mornings where I potentially plan to intermittent fast. And I'm like, you know, I just need some food. So rather than kind of like pushing through that, I listen to my body, I give it food. Other days, I'm more than happy to go through to lunchtime. Absolutely no problem. So again, it's just a really simple way of reducing my calorie intake. But it's trial and error. Trial and error, like I say, works for some, doesn't work for everybody. And typically the day I would do an intermittent fast would be on a non-training day. So if it's a rest day, because if I've had quite an intense session in the morning, 9 times out of 10 I train in the morning, my body's like, feed me, matey boy. You know, I've worked hard, give me some food, damn it, what's wrong with you? Another big thing for me was that I got on top of my portion sizes. Again, go back to what I said earlier, I love food, I'm a big eater. Whatever is on my plate, I will eat it. It matters not how much food there is there. Trust me, do not underestimate my capabilities. And I knew this was something I needed to address because I knew that often I would eat more than I actually needed. Luckily for me, I'm active, I walk a lot, I train a lot, so therefore, you know, I've never had to deal with a body composition issue in that respect. But I knew if I wanted to get that 4 kilos off, this was something that I needed to address. And that's exactly what I did. I didn't eat less volume of food because I knew that I'd go hungry, I'd be grouchy, and I wouldn't be much fun to be around. I just replaced some foods with more, you know, volume rich but low calorie options, such as good old vegetables, highly nutritious, low in calories, great way to bulk out your plate so that you feel satiated afterwards, you know, especially when combined with your proteins, your carbs and your fats. But essentially, guys, this is based on the principles that we use as part of our Fit at 16 lifestyle transformation plan. Because when we created Fit at 16, the idea was we wanted to create an online plan that was based on the principles that we use on ourselves as well as our one-to-one clients. Because for us, it's not a case of one size fits all, but we do believe in having some kind of healthy principles in place that you then adapt in accordance with what your goals are. And there's so many variables that decide, how you adapt those things, what your goal is, your time frame, how often you train, how much you train, are you a shift worker, do you have quite a physical job or a sedentary job, etc, etc, etc. The key is in the adaptation. So for me, I've just based all of that on what we do day to day with our clients. Simple. So if you don't know what Fitter16 is, quick plug, www.fitter16.com, check it out, any questions, get in touch. So nothing crazy there, guys, nothing faddy, nothing extreme, no calorie counting. I've said this before, calories matter, they certainly do, but do you need to count calories? No. You do need to, though, have an awareness of calories, which is something I have. I've been in this game a long time, so therefore I have an awareness of what, how many calories are in what, how much protein's in what, how many carbs, etc, etc, and that just gives you a good idea, but that comes with time. That's not necessarily to say that you shouldn't count calories, because I know some people, and I work with some clients where we do track their calories, because guess what? It works for them, and that's highly important, right? It's not about what works for you, it's about what works for them, and we are all different in that sense. But for me, I think all of those are pretty actionable, and that's a really good starting point for anybody who's got a fat loss goal. Now, just going into a bit more detail on the nutrition front, my priorities over this initial 4 weeks was ensure that, my training was being well fueled, because I wanted to feel good, I wanted to feel energized, I wanted to make sure that my recovery felt efficient, and it has done. So that's so clearly I'm doing something right. But initially, I didn't think I was going to need to increase my protein too much because I already eat quite a lot of it. However, I did find that I was almost naturally having a craving for more protein. And as I say, it's important you listen to your body. The good thing with protein is it's relatively low calorie, 4 calories per gram. So therefore, bumping it up a little bit isn't going to have a huge impact necessarily on my overall calorie intake, which could potentially inhibit my fat loss goal. And I did find that increasing my protein a little bit at each meals had a positive knock-on effect on my recovery in between my workouts and my runs. I also increased my carb intake, especially around that kind of pre and post workout window. And by pre, I don't necessarily mean immediately before, because still a lot of my training was done in a fasted state, purely because I train very early. Some mornings, I'm at the gym at 4 a.m, 4:30, I'm not getting up at 3, 2:30, whatever, to get a feed in. So I would increase my carbs the day before. If I know that there's a big session coming up the next day, for example, like when I done that 11 miler at my sub 3 hour marathon pace, I knew that I needed a good old hit of carbs the day before. So I treated the day before as my pre-workout. I got a good amount of carbohydrate in there. I made sure I got a good night's sleep, and I hit that 11 miles and I felt energized, I felt good, and I made sure that I got a good hit of protein and some a nice carb-rich meal after that workout as well. That said, there have been some workouts where I've trained a little bit later and I've had something pre-workout. It might be something really simple as a whey protein shake and a banana about 60 to 90 minutes before an intense workout. And again, that just comes down to a preference thing, because when it comes to performance, most of the studies will suggest that having a fed workout will be much better for you from a performance perspective. A lot of people think that training fasted will help them from a fat loss perspective, but the reality is your caloric intake over the course of a day, a week, is what's going to have the biggest impact on weight loss or weight gain. All right, so the whole fasted versus fed thing for fat loss is preference. For performance, fed has been shown to work better because it allows you to work at a higher intensity for a longer period, etc, etc. But again, it comes down to adapting. And for me, I train very early, so therefore 9 times out of 10 it is fasted. So far, touch wood, it's working well for me. So I've also here with my nutrition, I do listen to my body, like I mentioned, with regards to the intermittent fasting, with regards to days where I just feel like I need more carbs. Some days I feel like I just need more protein. And you just got to listen to your body's feedback. Are you really low on energy? Are you going into your workouts feeling really demotivated, really stiff, and it takes you a while to kind of get going? chances are that's your body letting you know it's not quite happy. And that might mean that you need to change things a little bit with your nutrition, maybe bump your carbs up a little bit, bump your protein up a little bit like I did. But then, we can't ignore things such as sleep, getting outside, managing your stress levels. These all play a role in your recovery process. And it's really important that you listen to your body. And tying in with that, and I should have put this on the list there, is keep a log of everything that you do. I'm a huge fan of this. I'm old school, pen and paper. I write everything down. My weight workouts, in this case now, like my running, what I do on my rest days, because then you can start connecting the dots, because if things are going well, you can say, well, what am I doing right now with my nutrition and my training? Brilliant, everything's moving in the right direction. I'm going to keep going with this. Flip that. I feel like crap. I've got no energy. My workouts are suffering. Why? Oh look, I've had hardly any sleep of late. Actually, my carbs are a little bit lower than they probably should be. I'll bump them up a little bit. It's a great way to just have easy access to feedback of things that you can change. So listening to your body is absolutely huge. Now, last couple of points here is keep it simple. You just don't overcomplicate these things, guys. There is no fancy protocol to training for a marathon. The main thing here is consistency, progress, listening to your body. Don't overwhelm yourself and start thinking, oh, should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? Take it at a nice steady pace and just focus on progress and focus on your journey. Now, the last one here is don't go mental. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is I know so many people that gain weight when preparing for a marathon. And this normally occurs especially when they're starting to bump the miles up a little bit. They're starting to place a greater demand on their body, and their body starts screaming out for glucose, and by golly do they give them glucose. But they just go nuts. All of a sudden they get in from a big run and they go absolutely mental. Cereal, bread, pasta, whatever they can get their hands on to kind of suppress this appetite. Now, that's something that we need to control, because believe me, you can burn a lot of calories when you go for a big run. But believe me, it's a darn sight easier to consume that amount of calories and some. So just don't go crazy. Ensure that your nutrition is well balanced and that you do feel well fueled most of the time, and that you do feel satiated. If you don't feel satiated from your meals, it's no wonder that when you place this crazy demand on your body after a big run, your body's just like, feed me, feed me. And it's easy to just open the floodgates and go absolutely crazy. And for a lot of people, they tend to have a fat loss goal in line with their marathon, just like I do. But I didn't do anything drastic. I kept things very, very simple and made some very small adaptations, which I've shared with you guys here. So that's that in as much of a nutshell as I could possibly do, which was quite tough for me. One thing I did forget to talk about was that I'm still weight training 3 to 4 times a week. Touch wood, I haven't lost strength. I still feel very energized with my workout, so I'm really, really pleased with that. I'm going to do a separate video on that, guys, because I want to show you how I've programmed my weight training and my runs so that they don't conflict with one another, and I can still make steady progress with my running without inhibiting my weight training gains, and vice versa. So I'll be sharing that with you guys very, very soon. But I just want to give you guys a little bit of an update on where I'm at, because I have hit a bit of a stumbling block, fitties. It hasn't all been plain sailing in this last 4 weeks, so check it out. So guys, as I mentioned, it hasn't been all plain sailing in the first kind of 4 weeks of this marathon journey of mine. Now, I've been doing as much as I can from a restorative point of view. Lots of stretching, lots of mobility. I've been very, very good with my warm-ups. Because I certainly believe that, a good warm-up can decide, whether you have a good or bad workout, or good or bad training session. And sometimes just investing that little bit longer in a nice thorough warm-up can make all the difference. However, I have sustained an injury, and unfortunately it's not a new injury. It's an old injury that's kind of like decided to show its face, and it's just a lower back injury that I've kind of had on and off over the last last fair few years or so, and that's just kind of due to I've got an anterior pelvic tilt, which has caused me some problems in the past. But I guess I've always just done enough to kind of keep it at bay and train pain-free, etc., with it kind of flaring up occasionally. However, I think it's clear that the change in my type of training, doing more impact work with the running, and certainly as I've built those miles up a little bit, my back's been causing me some problems. So it's slowed me down a little bit in terms of the type of training that I can do, which is a little bit disheartening, but it is on the mend right now. I've prioritised more restorative work over like intense training, because as much as I want to do this marathon, I'm not going to wreck myself in the process. I value my health and well-being far too much. So I've got that disconnect from the goal in that sense, but in a good way, not in a negative way. I still feel very motivated. I still feel very inspired to do it. I still feel confident that I can still do well. But right now I'm just prioritising getting on top of the injury and making sure that I can do what I can without making matters worse. So wish me luck, guys. I will keep you updated. I will not be defeated. I'm still going to give this my best shot, but I'm doing what I recommend all you guys do, which is listening to my body. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you in episode number 3.